You know, the first time we actually went out,
Yes.
Was when we went to Topo, right?
Yes.
And then our second outing was
So
in
Topo
Sukwe.
is where, for context sake?
Topo is within the Greater Accra region, the
Yes.
Shire of Sudoku constituency of the Greater Accra region. And so that was where we did our maiden relief effort. And then we currently are building a structure for them. The second time we went out, we went to a number of communities,
Yes.
Sukwe and Sogakopa within the Volta region, Southern constituency of the Volta region included. Now, let me be clear that the relief items that we're talking about are not relief items from Citi FM or the Citi FM
Yes,
Foundation. What the DCE is talking about has nothing to do with what do you call a Citi FM and the Citi FM Foundation. What we do know, however, is that according to the video that is in wide circulation, and he himself confirmed the details on that video in his interview with Umaru Sanda Amadu, our good friend on the Eyewitness News program here on Citi FM yesterday. He confirmed those details and basically suggested that although the relief items are within the possession of the district assembly, they are unable to immediately evacuate them to the areas where they are actually needed on the ground because of no money. That was a submission on the City, Eyewitness News yesterday, and in the video that preceded the interview on Eyewitness News. Now, his claim is that the assembly is handicapped financially. They do have some trucks or vehicles which ideally could move these relief items from the assembly to the people who actually need them.
Yes.
But because they do not have money, first of all, to hire people to come and load the items into the vehicles that could transport them, and then also because they do not have money to get fuel to actually keep or to run these vehicles, they are unable to move the items to the people who actually need them. Now, this is devastating on many levels because we continue to receive calls from many people who say they are flagged victims. In some cases suggesting that the things are within the possession of the district assemblies, and for some reason the assemblies are not releasing the items to them. These calls have come in from particularly the Southern area and then also the Northern area. And I must emphasize that, almost exclusively, we have been dealing with the assembly members of the areas that have been affected. So we go there, we call the township, the assembly member leading them would come out, and then publicly we donate the items. And we receive photographs of how the distribution efforts are being, done. Videos come in, and the people actually testify as to how, they are receiving the items. Some other models are being used. Of course, we've seen some MPs come through the studio, coming for and on behalf of their constituents in cases where we are unable to move to these areas that are almost further away from Accra. But this other model that some other people are using is to send the items and the DCs receive them. And when the DCs receive them for and on behalf of the people, it would seem that there are some difficulties with how the items are sent. And the MCE or the DCE who is in circulation in that video is suggesting that, yes, they have received these items, and some of them are from NADMO and all of that, but they do not have money to send the items to the people. And this is particularly disturbing. In the meantime, though, let's hear exactly what his justifications have been.
Okay, so we'll hear, the initial tape where he talks about the fact that the items are there, but they've had issues with transporting these items to those who are in dire need of same.
No. Assembly, we have released items there. What are you doing? The money to hire a car and send it to them. I tell you. Oh, that's a fact. That's the fact. I can't hide anything from you. You need money to fuel the cars and sell the item to the people.
That is the only issue.
That's the issue.
And
That's the
people
only
are
issue.
angry.
We don't have money.
So why not you ask them to come?
We ask them. I've been asking the VRA, the NADMO. I've been asking them. They should give us something. As of today, I received only 20,000 Ghana cedi. We have said it already. There are items there. It's a fact. It's a fact. So that is why it's happening. We need money to support financially. Yes, that's why it's happening.
So that was Seth Kwesi Agbe. He's the DCE for South Tongue, admitting that yes, there are some issues in terms of transportation or getting money to buy fuel to move the items. So he says yes, the items are in their custody or their assemblies custody, but getting them to the victims, that is the challenge as we speak. So that was the first tip. That was the tip that started making the rounds. That was the tip that started making the rounds. So the DC is saying that there's really no money, Richard, to transport the items. And again, I'm stating on record for the third time that these items are not from us. These are items he got from other sources, I believe NADMO and co. We have a different model. So for those who are wondering, that's a bit of clarity. The items in question are not from us. These items came from NADMO, I believe, and they are supposed to be moved on to the flood victims. But there's a big challenge in terms of transporting these items from point A, which is the holding place, to point B, the homes of these residents, or wherever it is these victims are. And he says, Charlie, there's no money. He says there's no money. No common fund. IGF is not enough. And he has stated the various costs transporting the items from point A to B.
Yeah, and before Sky deals with the thing at the various levels, for me, what was disappointing was his posture. You know, when he watched the first video, he didn't even seem concerned. You know, let's forget about everything he said. Just look at the man. You've had people who've lost their houses, lost their livelihoods, sleeping outside. And NADMO has brought you relief items. And you are basically saying, oh, we don't have money. Oh, you know, he didn't even think, and that's for me is what's disappointing. It wasn't even the fact that I don't have money. He didn't seem bothered. And you know, when Sandra was interviewing him, I thought he would say, oh, Charlie, the way this video has gone viral, let me first apologize to the people of South Tongue on behalf of government that the food that has been given, they don't.
He still had this.
He's like, oh, it's almost like
this air.
Nobody can do anything to me because they've not given me any money. The minister knows, the president knows. And he doesn't even think he owes the people anything. And that was the most disappointing part. You know, he didn't represent government well, and we are not picking up on him. But the attitude stinks. That you are in a national crisis. You are in the center of. You are in Sogakope. South Tongue is one of the most seriously hit places. We went there. Everything we went, we took. When you were sharing things in Sogakope, Asokwe,
you were.
He was nearly overrun, right? And you as government,
that's some of the hardest hits.
So okay, can't you even mobilize? So let's assume you don't have money. All right, you are the DCE. There are
convening power.
There are fuel stations operators. Call one or two and say, okay, we have some items to donate to some people at wherever, and we want you to give us petrol to power these trucks ahead of some money coming in. All these petrol stations are in your vicinity. And then, like 3 weeks after the incident, you are standing somewhere and saying, oh, we don't have money. Oh, it's expensive. Oh, it's 20,000. You know, look, it is sickening. And I think that as a country, we have to be, we have to, what do we mean by leadership? Do we understand? You see, this is what we do. I don't think this guy knows what leadership means. No. I don't think he understands it. Leadership, you are leading people in a community who depend on you, and you are talking free. Oh, we don't have fuel. They've brought you relief items for poor people. Oh. They've brought you relief items for, and you are saying, oh. So what did you try and do? You see, later we need to look. Be careful the people we appoint to. It's sad. And what he doesn't even think is a problem. That's what he worries. He doesn't even feel remorse that maybe when they were interviewing me I was a bit off guard. I didn't talk. He doesn't care, and because even today he's gone to work normal.
The items are still there,
which means that he's not even thinking about the people. Guys, if we don't get serious in this country and start insisting on the right thing to be done, these people, they will kill us. I'm telling you. You think this guy will be concerned about somebody who loses his life because of a flood?
No, he won't.
He doesn't. And there are many like that. And you see, I know that there's a bigger issue Sky raised a few weeks ago about lack of money to run government operations, which is a legitimate issue. But I still insist that your body language as a leader is very critical. And if the president or whoever appointed this guy is watching this video and the guy stays in his job, it means that he too acquiesces to this kind of behavior. Because this is, so if it wasn't that the journalist even asked him, we wouldn't even know that there was even relief items given to him. You see why sometimes we go direct to the people, we don't go through these guys?
Because...
You see why? That when we go, we work with assemblymen, it's for a reason. Most of the places I've gone to, assemblymen are teachers. Assemblymen are not even paid. This guy is paid though. Assemblymen are not paid though, Nathan. Assemblymen produce lists. Look, the assemblyman that Sanders spoke to at Ada, too much. The guy prepared a list. Male, female, household, number of children. Forwarded it to DCE, whatever. Called Nadmo. When he wasn't getting a response, called Sander and said, put me on air. People having received some of the donations. Did everything till we started the project. Yeah. That's a leader. Of course, credit to the DCE for Ada. She joined the process. Do you understand? So, but the point is that the country requires excellent leadership, and people are failing us across. And I think that well-meaning citizens of Sogakope should rise up and say, this guy should go. Or get a better person to do the work. Because you cannot have relief items from NADMO for 3 weeks and keep the items and tell me that you don't have money to. No, you can't do that. The attitude is terrible.
Terrible. Just somebody. So before we came on there, exactly at 8, one of my mates sent me a message. He says that DCE should be sacked. Is he saying that he cannot lobby the fuel station in his district to provide fuel as part of donations? So
you see why people say they should vote for DCEs. You notice that during this crisis, MPs have come to us to say, give us items. Because MPs report to the people. Mm-hmm. This is why people are saying this. Because the DCE, so long as his minister is okay, local government ministry is okay, he's okay. Do you get my point? So, and I'm not saying voting solves every problem, because elections are expensive, they are divisive. But honestly, district chief executive, rallying power, Sky, are you telling me that if a DCE goes to, when we went to South Tongu, there are about 8 fuel station operations. If for nothing at all, write to them and say you want a donation of fuel to send relief items, or they should even give you trucks. Exactly. Do you get it? So it's called I don't careism, and it's because he will get paid tomorrow morning. So the reason people are moving for voting, all the MPs rush here to say, look, Afram Plains MP, send a note. Some have written letter on letterheads. They will give you communities. MPs were sending me pictures and videos, and they say, Charlie, we need help. Roofing sheet, our people are suffering. Because they know that if the people hustle, it will become an election matter. Mm-hmm. So in Ghana, the only thing that moves leaders is elections. Why should it be so? That you cannot be responsible for. Look at the women. I saw a 9-month pregnant woman going to cut palm a day to sell for 10 cedis because her house has been displaced. What society is this? And you are sitting there with relief items and you are relaxed because you don't have fuel. Okay, we deserve better. Honestly, Nathan. Sky, I know you raised the point about the lack of resources for assemblies, which is a legitimate point, which I think you can develop. But I still think this DCE no force.
But I agree fully with you. And, it was like you were just speaking from my head, like you were. Because, look, the first thing I did was to pull up the number of fuel stations in and around Sogakope.
Okay.
Which is more or less the biggest township in that community.
Okay.
And
How many did you get?
there are plenty. I mean, Google has thrown up just so many fuel
that
stations.
vicinity.
Exactly. So you have Star Oil who came to us to support us with
100,000
of 100,000 Ghana cedis. You have R&P Oil. You have Icon Filling Station, Soga Copper. You have Goil Fuel Station. You have Quantum Petroleum, Soga Copper. Top Oil Filling Station. You have Soga Copper Total Energies Service. All of these, Fraga Oil,
They're all there.
Bedeku, Gas Station, Petrosol.
Wow.
All of them are in Soga Copper because the downstream petroleum sector is somehow, there's so much representation of interest from the Volta region. So a fully creative district chief executive who knows what his job is about, you are the president's representative on the ground. You are the head of DISEC. You know what DISEC is?
District Security
Security
Council or whatever.
Yes, and what it means is that if your people are hungry, it affects security. If your people are displaced, it affects security. So you don't see it in your office, or you don't go stand somewhere lackadaisically and speak casually about a matter that is a crisis situation in your community. As Bernard rightly stated, what stops this district chief executive from moving into what do you call it? Emergency mode, reaching out to all of these businesses. Of course, I realize that I do recognize that a number of the businesses there have been affected badly.
Yeah.
Especially the hotels that have been washed away in terms of some of the facilities they have and all of that. But you have fuel stations. So easily write formally to them or hold a meeting with them, call all of them together and say, look, this is the problem we have with the people who sometimes patronize your services.
Yeah.
What can you do to help? I need you to help with A, B, C, and D. Let us rescue our people. You move them, and I believe that these are reasonable people. Star Oil came here and gave us 100,000 Ghana cedis. It's not because they necessarily like our
Even
people.
some of the transport companies fueled. Some of the transport companies that gave us the trucks,
Logistics.
they fueled the truck. Mark Logistics, they fueled their truck. So the guy.
So you see, once you do that, an emergency meeting to discuss the issue, this is the situation we find as a district. This is what I want you to do to help us to deliver this. Of course, there are people who may not necessarily go with you, but you would have mobilized enough support to convey these items to the people who need it. Look, when you go to that field and you see how people are struggling just to get by, there are people who sleep on an empty stomach because their life is around a small cycle, right? What they do is they go and farm or they go and fish. What they get, they go and sell it in the market, get something small from there, and then go and buy this, and then they are able to sustain their lives. They are not people expecting so much, but we have disrupted their lives because of the decision we took to save their Kosombo dams.
There's no money.
So there's no money. They live from hand to mouth. So when you have a situation like that in your district, and people have been magnanimous enough, maybe through the NADBO or the NADBO itself, was able to mobilize resources for you to go and save your people. The least we expect is not to come and sit on television or stand on television or before the cameras and tell us that you don't have money. That is absolute dereliction of duty. And he has lost the moral and whatever authority there is left to continue to remain in office beyond 12 midday. He should have been fired or removed as early as yesterday because he doesn't represent the people of that particular district. He is a disservice to the office he occupies because he doesn't understand his job as district chief executive for that community, and then he doesn't understand his job as the head of DISEC in that community.
Could it be that there could be other DCs too who are keeping relief items because of the same problem, but they haven't known because...
Yes.
Well, that is a bigger question
we need to
interrogate. But you see, his attitude is not in isolation. And I say this with all the conviction I can command. He seems to reflect a bigger lack of interest from the central government. Of course, I recognize that yesterday the president spoke to the chiefs of OT and said that, we are putting together a package.
Very soon, a big announcement to be made.
But since this disaster happened,
Charlie,
how many times have we not sat on this network or on television to say that the president is seated with Article 31 powers to declare a state of emergency, which, in our respectful view, if you look at all the facts surrounding this particular crisis, qualifies, the situation we are dealing with, qualifies under Article 31 to have mandated the president to declare a state of emergency. Now, which declaration would have closed the president with enough authority to move the military, to move all the institutions that matter into those areas that are affected? So that people whose lives have been disrupted completely, their lives turned upside down, you would have moved the machinery of state to these areas to help them. Because these items there, we have armored vehicles sitting at the various military barracks. We have huge mummy trucks, the ones that the soldiers sit in Abongo when they are going to do their things. Huge ones. Now imagine, how many of those vehicles do we need in these areas to be able to successfully move items from the holding centers to the people who need them? How many do we need? These are people who are sitting in areas, sometimes without, they're sleeping in spaces without windows.
Without windows.
Mosquitoes
doors,
and reptiles are visiting them almost every day. In Ghana. So when you have the military, of course, I recognize that they did quite a fine job in the Mepe and other areas. But you see, if the president was so advised and he took that advice, by now, the military will not be sitting in Accra or wherever they are, or who the barracks there. Yeah, they would have been moved to the field. This DCE would not have been complaining. At best, he would have been leading from the front and telling the military that, we need the problem solved in this area, in that area, in that. So you see the military in action, because in any case, our military, what do we use them for? We go on UN missions, and in some cases, when there are problems in Ghana, we deploy them. This is the time you expect the military to be leading from the front.
Even things like buildings.
Exactly.
The government were using 64 battalion. Is that are they there? No, 48.
48
engineer regiment who could come up with makeshift buildings and help reestablish. There's a lot that we could do.
Yes.
It's terrible.
Because so many thousands of your people have been displaced. But you see, there was failure of leadership on the part of the people at the top.
Yeah. Maybe he's taking his body language from what he sees.
That's the point I'm making.
President do, because it's like, this thing cry, it's not a big thing. Oh. Yeah. This thing cry. The thing, we don't have money. Oh. Charlie, this thing, I can't keep myself. Oh. This thing, it's really sad. The other thing I need to say though is that if there's no money to even buy petrol, then what are they doing at the assembly? So because when you look at what assemblies are, so is it basically saying that the assembly is dysfunctional? Because if you can't get money, think about it. Oh. If this station doesn't have money to buy fuel, then as a going concern, we are in deep trouble, right? Because the basics of any organization, you need supplies, you need movement.
Yeah.
So assuming we come to work and then Mr. Adam says, Charlie, today no fuel. So we are all sitting. Imagine. So do they pay their water light bill? Do they have phone? Does it work? Do they have soap? Do you understand the question?
The DCE's vehicle.
Does it go to work? Do they eat? Is the assembly? And the other thing, you are in the midst of a crisis for your district.
Yes.
So this is the time where your district needs the most help, and you are telling me that the most basic thing, you don't have it. So it's almost like there's some sabotage going on, because in a normal day, an assembly should even have fuel. Now you are in an emergency situation in your district, because I've been to your district 4 times in the past 10 days, and I'm not even from there. Okay, and you understand, because you are sitting there in this big. Are you telling me that there's no emergency support? There's no fund. There's no. Do you understand? The thing seems like it's almost like we are just making noise, and all the things we are saying is not even true.
Bernard, even if, right? This is my point. Even if he says there's no IGF, and he says there's no common fund, even if there's none of those. What you have as DC
say money finish
is rallying power and convening power.
Maybe
and it's kind of like I said, so is he saying that he can't get help to get these tracks.
You know the problem? The political system we have, it makes us choose imposters as leaders.
That's the point.
You were there when they were discussing who to choose as DC. Where was competence in that list?
None at all.
We saw the report. Sky, we are in trouble. Oh. You are choosing somebody to run a space. Look, me, if I even have a small business and I'm choosing somebody to run it, I'll be very careful who I choose. We are choosing people to run space. All we think about is, are they in the party? Do they support the tripod? Meanwhile, in countries that have developed in our generation, local and district leadership is the best platform to gauging competence for national leadership. It's not even MPship. Have you run an assembly? So from assemblyman, so actually unit committee to assembly, then from assembly to electoral area DCE, then maybe regional minister. That's the best. But here we look for people. How long has he been in the party? What has he done for the party? Some of them does he even have a proper education? We don't care. All we want is loyalty to party. We have created a monster. And the fruit, so this is just one example. I'm sure there are many who are watching this hiding, DCE. Because he's been in the party for long, he suffered for the party. So suffering for party means you come and mismanage people's lives. There's a difference between working to organize people to win an election and appointing people who understand how to transform a society. That's where we miss it. So look at the people they appoint. Sometimes when they talk, you say, this guy doesn't even understand what we are saying in this country. Does he even know what this is about? But that's the truth. We have left the space to people who are loyalists. So this guy, you go and trace. Oh, his father joined the party 82. He did something. They beat him here. He's done this. Party. And only party, any idiocracy high. So the question is, should we continue with a system that appoints people like this to lead us in the local level? So Gakope, South Tongu is a massive area. In some places, the DCs are even doing municipal bonds, talking about borrowing to bring development, negotiating with businesses to bring development to their constituency. How many of our DCs even understand those things?
That's the question.
Oh, they all common phone, there, hey, common phone. You know, we are not. I'm saying we are not ready for development. I keep saying it. We are. If you are, you see, when you suffer and something, if you are ready for development, you don't have time for things like this. But today, we talk. President will say, oh, this means, they will continue what they are doing tomorrow. We are not ready to do the hard work of development. And so this guy, I'm not sure they will sack him.
Let me read something that a listener sent.
It's all about the vote.
Listener says, this man is just incompetent. I'm an auditor. I sometimes go to the assembly to audit. And they pay these filling stations for fuel they purchased when they had no money. They sometimes keep a notebook at the filling station for such records and pay when they get the allocation. Says the man be liar. He
check out too.
You see, that's the point
when I see the guy, he's not thinking. It's like he's planning his exit. Hey, Jimmy. He's not thinking about it. It's like the flooding you are talking about. He's not thinking about it too. It's everyone says, when someone says, we will say, Charlie, don't worry.
Because for me,
you know the number of hours between when the videos first went viral, and his interview on Eyewitness News.
How many hours?
Like, that's like a whole day.
And he still came on the show with this attitude.
Because someone from there sent me the video. And then Godfred also sent me the video. And then I noticed the video was trending. So I put it on a platform. We were looking at it. And so I decided to dig to be sure that
it was an authentic video.
Because you just can't go and attack a state official or criticize him when you don't know all the facts around it. So eventually we decided that we're going to do the story on Eyewitness News. Now, if this guy properly understood or understands his job, by the time that he was speaking on Eyewitness News, and if people were properly handling him, or he was taking proper advice, or they advised him, perhaps he didn't take it, his attitude and tone on Eyewitness News would have been completely different.
You'd have even said, right now, we've even shared the items. We've managed to get resources following the video trending something. He still did it.
It was like,
still, even this morning, guys, still has that money. And you can't do anything to him because you are not in the party, you don't do anything, you are just on air talking English. And the people who are even in the district, they'll see him at church and say, hey, honorable, they'll take selfie with him. That's the thing. So you reinforce this kind of attitude with our own sycophancy. That's the thing. If we don't start calling out bad leadership, using our platform, if I'm his pastor, I'll say, bro, Sunday I'll finish you in church. Don't come and sit in front. You can't do this. You are not representing the church you attend. There is old school people say, oh, Charlie, but why you do that? Don't say I stand with DCE. But that's what we've become, a society of us and Kotoko. So even his mates will say, oh, Charlie, let's stand for our brother. You see, so when you don't, so his friends, as you said, where are the people who are around him? Say, oh, Charlie, only no fair, be correct. How can you go and say such a thing? You didn't represent your secondary school well. This is when societies fail. This is what happens. Everybody who's supposed to intervene is more interested in being the good guy. So we are the concerned media. We are the people who talk. We are the people who are not happy. This guy goes to church. This guy has a secondary school mate. He has friends he drinks with. How come they can't tell him that, bro, the thing you do now? Why isn't anybody telling him? Because it's about party. It's about resources. This is what is destroying the country. And the politicians, they know that, oh, so I compare people, what's there? Oh, nothing. You get me? And then when we get it, we'll just do NDC and people with it and we'll move. Something has to give. You know, this cannot continue. If we don't change the way we even choose people to lead us, allegedly, because this is alleged leadership. It's not proper leadership. There are some comments.
Yes, let's go through some of the comments.
There are tons of them. The DC is highly incompetent. He cares less about the suffering of the flood victims. He could have bought fuel on credit to distribute the items and later found money to settle that. He should resign or the president should sack him. Baba Al-Hassan Mohammed, Notre Dame Girls SHS in Fiapre. Good morning, Nathan and crew. Listening to that DCE is sickening. Terrible attitude, and he doesn't seem to care. I pray either his appointers or the people of Sogakopa take him out. Abdul Sabo from Tamale Sender through. Good morning, team. It's sad to hear an appointee talk this way. This is what happens when you appoint party faithfuls instead of competent candidates. Good morning, Bernard and team. Is the DCE serious? People have voluntarily given items to be distributed for free, and he can't mobilize for the transportation and offloading of the items. This man needs to be sacked. David Kofi Senanu Kulavom from Ashaima, Newtown. Good morning, Bernard and team. The attitude of the DC is a replica of the national government towards the flood victims. Matthew in Winneba. Aiko, Richard and CBS, you've spoken well on the state of emergency declaration to trigger the military deployment this morning. Thank you, bro, and keep up the good work for Mother Ghana. Dennis Kale from La. Nathan, this guy has a Nissan Patrol. Just like other DCEs, and it's fueled by the state.
That's what I was saying.
I don't think he has parked that car because there is no fuel. To be frank with you guys, these are leaders do not have the competencies to occupy the positions they occupy. Day in, day out, they demonstrate lack of leadership skills to move our country forward. We need a KPI for all these leaders. Joe Mans said that. Good morning, CBS. I think the DC is not fit for that office he occupies. Just to transport goods to your own people, you want money? Why did he receive the items then if he knew there was no way he could transport them? I am surprised he said all these without any sense of seriousness.
Where are the things even being kept?
So they have what they call it, a warehouse where they are keeping the items.
You'll be there. Maybe election time, they'll start sharing it.
Moses Kofi send that through from Ashaman. Good morning, Nathan. I couldn't believe my ears. This is the same attitude of the central government. Why do we even blame the DCE when the one who even appointed him has not shown any serious concern? God help Ghana. Citi FM, thank you, guys. Had it not been for you, the flood victims would have been left on their own. Ghanaians are not angry enough. Jones Aduboy from La. Send that through. Nathan, that's the modus operandi of some of these local government heads. They wait, become indifferent, then over time when the noise over disaster subsides, then gradually they start sharing the items amongst themselves. You didn't add your name. Such an insensitive and clueless person should be nowhere near leadership. He should be sacked immediately. Die from Koforidia Center through. Good morning, Nathan. Please, is this DC saying some of the relief items should go waste? Are the items intact as they were brought? His attitude is a reflection of a bigger picture of the government. Remember the Renal Center issue at Kolebu? This NPP party is hugely disappointing. Please, let's audit the items received to ensure they are the same as they were received or brought. From a sports star, I shudder to believe the items are there. they've been probably sold to shops or shared amongst members of some colours.
Let me
Paul,
just
send that
ask another question whilst you go on, guys. Whilst we condemn the actions of the DC, I think it's also important to ask what is happening in our assemblies and in our government agencies. All right, because the way he spoke suggests that he knows that what he's saying is true, that there's no money. Okay, so now I'm not holding brief, but I'm moving to a second argument. So those of you who work in the assemblies, let us know. Is there a general cash crunch? I'm saying this because some people I know who are working in public sector, you say, oh, Charlie, where are you? Oh, I'm not at work. Oh, why? I say, oh, Charlie, nothing's happening. We don't have any money. We don't have toilet roll. We don't have toner. I say, are you sure? I say, oh, there's no money. So usually when you go to the office, maybe we just send 1 or 2 emails and then we go home. So sometimes I can work from home because I don't even have to go. You know, so is the South Tongu no money an isolated case? Or is there actually a lack of resources at the assemblies? I think the assemblies need to also tell us. All right? Because, so we can understand what's going on. That if there's no money to run the government, they should let us know. Because we have 2 days to a budget. Budget is tomorrow, you know, so, right? So there has to be some of the assemblies must also let us know. All right? Because I remember Sky raised this point that a lot of government agencies were not doing anything because there was no money.
Yeah.
And when I asked him, I said, there's no money. And when you go, they say there's no money. You know, so I think that's also a legitimate point to discuss, irrespective of the man's attitude. That you can't also expect people not to. I mean, if there's no money, what should they do?
No, but Bernard, but looking at
because Samuel always says something. No one goes to war at his own expense.
That is true.
So if I work, let's assume I work at Get Fund, or I work at, give me a government agency, I don't know, whatever.
MP.
Bet and debts. If there's no money to buy the tools for working, how am I going to work? Do you get it? So the central government has some questions to answer. Because, so for example, has the common fund been released to the assemblies? Do you understand? Because there's a DCE administrator. So they should be able to issue a statement and say, South Tongu claims there's no money, cannot be true because it was only last week that we paid. But if they don't say anything, it means that it's true that there's no money. And why is there no money? Why are the funds in arrears? Why have they been capped? These questions, you see, you can discuss the DCE till forever, but you also have to come to the point of, is the district assembly common fund being managed in a way that allows the assemblies to function effectively? Are assemblies having things procured from them centrally, for which reason they have no financial flexibility? Have we fiscally decentralized to allow these these district assemblies people to actually have resources to do what they want to do and consider as priorities? Or can we say that because of procurement, we are procuring things like fumigation from the top, and all the assemblies do is to sign off for somebody else to get the money? These are matters that must be discussed. And I think that NALAG must come into the picture too. All right? What are the ethics of a DCE's behavior? Then NALAG must come and tell us whether the DCE of South Tongu's behavior is in line with the way assembly employees must work. The local government says, Nana Atuata, where are you? What's going on? Okay, Nana Atuata is the head of local government service. He said, okay, this guy is an employee of the local government service. I believe so. At least they work with him. Is what is going on? Do you get it? There has to be the labor union of NALAG, or they shouldn't just be there for salary. They must come clean and tell us that what is happening in South Tongu is emblematic of what's happening everywhere else. Or this guy is a bad man that must be fished out. If we all don't push this thing, it will become another trending video. Tomorrow, somebody will do something on TikTok and we'll move to it. We have to use this as an entry point to look at whether the assemblies are functioning. And from the thing we discussed yesterday, Accra West,
all the priority
Sky,
areas you must focus on.
You can't be serious in a country if your assemblies are dysfunctional. Because the assembly
they come together to form
is the unit, is the engine. So the district assembly is the engine of national development. And yet we fill it with political apparatchiks and people who don't care. And we starve it of resources. And we are surprised that our cities and towns are so haphazard and poorly managed. We go to all the conferences, you read about resilience, you tick all the boxes. Bloomberg will sponsor you to do discussion about transport something. Yet sit in a Trotsky from Sapem to Accra. you see dysfunction throughout. So it's almost like we just want to show up that we know something, but we cannot implement it to even transportation, bobo, sanitation, bobo, school management, bobo. Now money to transport relief items, bobo, fumigation, bobo, medians. Look, I drove from this thing, Bema Camp Road. From Palace, you turn roundabout and you go as if you are going to Chado. This is a place with some of the most expensive real estate in the country. The green grass is up to your thighs in a senior society. This is behind Bema Camp. You are next to Airport Hills. You are next to Chain Homes. And the green grass in the median, when you are driving, you can't see across. In a country that has people who went to school.
Oh, but no, that's weed.
Yes, that's my point. If a city is functioning,
you won't find weedy medians.
You have real estate in that area. It's almost millions.
Yes.
I'm saying that there's something wrong with the software of Ghanaians. That you can leave Airport Hills, drive around the roundabout, Lister Hospital, and you are driving to Chado, and the green grass, the bush, you can't look across. Oh. People are jogging in the morning to keep their body fit. Meanwhile, the green grass is higher than their head. In a functioning city, if it doesn't worry you, it means that are you telling me that when you go to a civilized society that green grass will grow to that level and nobody's weeding it? and yet people are living in $1 million houses.
The progress internet, you drive.
There's torches. Oh, look at the torches. The torches.
Yeah.
We need to do a very, very good interview. A very interesting interview.
Just give me.
Yes.
Otherwise, it will touch.
Okay.
First of all, let me express profound gratitude to the MPs who have tried to help their people. The Honorable Kujetua Blakwa has shown profound leadership in many ways. And many other MPs who have behaved like him, leading their people from the front. It is great. We have seen the best examples of what Ghanaian leadership should be all about. But on top of that, let me express profound disappointment in the Parliament of the Republic of Ghana.
Oh, you see, the whole Parliament.
The whole Parliament.
Kabudo.
Because when the president fails us, Parliament should be calling for action. When leadership fails us, the executive leadership is failing us, Parliament should be leading the line. But beyond people criticizing what the Minister for Energy had gone to say, what has the representatives of the people, what have they done about this crisis?
They've done,
We have a committee responsible for the interior, defense and interior. Who have they held before them to say, Mr. Minister, why are people sleeping in homes, not even homes, classrooms, without windows, mosquitoes and reptiles visiting them almost every day? We have members of that committee, minority, majority. They earn salaries every single month. Your people are in a crisis situation. Have we seen Parliament leading the line? No. And that is a complete dereliction of duty. And the people in Parliament have got to be ashamed of themselves. I know very honorable people in that house. But on this particular matter, they have failed to show leadership. And if they are not smelling the coffee, by now they should wake up and smell it.
Thank you.
Because you cannot call for action at the lower level if you yourself are not acting.
Okay.
And very briefly, if you look at Article 243 of the Constitution of Ghana, there's a provision as to how a DCE's office becomes vacant.
Oh, you are moving the legal side already?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right. The people who constitute that assembly, and let me just read that.
That's if they are not
relevant
complicit.
provision.
They are not.
They themselves, they have to be sacked. The whole assembly must go.
Article 243, Clause 3, Subclause A.
Yeah, man.
Says that the office of District Chief Executive shall become vacant if A vote of no confidence supported by the votes of not less than 2/3 of all the members of the District Assembly is passed against him, or he is removed from office by President, or he resigns or dies. Those are the other provisions. I am making a direct call
To the people in the assembly.
to the people in the assembly, a direct call on them to trigger this provision pass a vote of no confidence. In fact, they should call an emergency. The presiding member, he should call an emergency meeting if he's not a part of this, and even if he's a part
What
of
makes
it.
you think they are not part of this?
Well, I'm making the call,
all
assuming
his
that
people.
they are acting properly.
They are together.
They should vote and remove
They will
this
be at the funeral next week
district.
together. They will be at the funeral together next week.
They should remove him from office because he does not deserve
Lie back.
the office he occupies.
Sharp.
Thank you.